Get started in a comfortable seat and take that pillow or a folded up blanket and place it underneath your hips. So anything to make your hips higher than your knees. You can also sit kind of back on your heels if that's more comfortable. Close your eyes or find a space on the floor in front of you to gaze at. And just start with a little check-in. Check in with the quantity and quality of your thoughts. Notice how you're coming in today, mentally and physically. So start at the crown of your head and just move your attention without stopping down along your spine slowly and down your limbs. Without stopping anywhere, just notice whether there are any areas of particular comfort or discomfort. Check in with the breath. Notice the rise and fall of the inhale and the exhale. Notice whether the breath is fast or slow, deep or shallow. Notice which parts of the breath are smooth and which have a little bit of roughness to them. Start to count the lengths of the inhales and the exhales. And notice whether one is longer or shorter than the other. And then start to try to even them out. So maybe a 4 or 5 second inhale and a 4 or 5 second exhale. Both the inhale and the exhale coming through the nose. Bring your hands to heart center, palms together, thumbs at your sternum, and call to mind your sankalpa, your intention for class today. That might start with I am. And at this time, if you need a suggestion for an intention, it could just be I am patient. Whatever it is, say it to yourself a few times. And then I'll start us off by chanting the sound of Om one time. You're all muted, so feel free to join along in your home if you'd like, or you can just listen. Inhaling. Good. Blink your eyes open. Interlace your fingers and place it at the base of your skull, so just above your neck, cradling the back of your head. Inhale, look up and pull your head away from your shoulders a little bit to lengthen the cervical spine. And then exhale, bring your chin to your chest, maybe round your upper back a little bit. Do that a few times with your breath. Inhaling to look up, lengthen. Exhaling to look down. Keep working with your breath. Someone I think isn't muted, so just want to make sure. Well, whoever isn't muted, I can't find you, but don't breathe through your mouth because this should be through your nose. So if I can hear you, it means you're not quite there. I don't know what's going on. Anyway. Oh, was it? There.
It looks like it was Mike. Yeah, I think it was
I
Mike.
found it. I'm not in the presenter part for some reason. I'm just a participant, so I couldn't see everyone properly. Great. Now everyone can enjoy without worrying that they're being heard. Okay. Now, the next time you exhale, bring your chin towards your chest and just allow your hands to be heavy. And again, round that upper back a little bit. Make sure you're not rounding in the lower back, hurting that lower back. So keep that straight. Around the upper back, and you might bring one ear a little bit toward your shoulder so that you're getting a stretch kind of on one side of the neck. That is responsible for a lot of tension headaches. So it's a really good one to stretch out. And then inhale, chin to center, and exhale toward the other side. So it's not all the way to the ear, it's just kind of at an angle. All right, inhale your chin down to center. And then we'll bring the head upright. Bring your hands or your fingers to your shoulders, and we'll do some circles backward, keeping that rib cage nice and even. Making sure we're getting the movement in our shoulders rather than in our chest. Good, and then keep that isolation and go forward. Keep breathing. Okay, and then we'll alternate, and this now it's okay if your upper part of your torso moves a little bit. So it's like a backstroke. And then a front stroke. Keep breathing along with this. Good. Come back to center, and we'll just take your right foot and use your thumb to give yourself a little foot massage. Yeah, so if you need to, you can kind of pull it out. That's okay. And just waking up that foot. And then squeeze your knee in toward your chest. Wake up that hip a little bit. So that same foot that you were working with before. Wake up that knee a little bit and then circle the ankle. Mine is popping. It's concerning. And go the other direction. Maybe a little point and flex. And then you can just bring that down and we'll switch sides. So massaging the left foot. Especially those of us who've been working all day, we've probably not been able to be on our feet since we've just been home all day. We're waking those up. And then bringing your knee into your chest, squeezing it, and then starting some circles. the ankle. And circles the other direction. Point and flex. Okay. Release that. Move your pillow or blanket or whatever prop you're using out of the way. And we'll find our way into a table pose. So point your hands, bring your knees under your hips. Shoulders are over wrists. Good. Unless you need to look at me, a neutral neck. And we'll just do some cat-cows. So inhale, broaden your collarbones, open the chest toward the front of the room, look forward. And then exhale, bring your chin toward your chest, bring your belly button toward your spine for cat pose. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. Keep working with your breath. And while you're doing this, really think about your upper back rather than your lower back moving. Maybe even bringing your belly button toward your spine the entire time to ensure that that lower back isn't taking the full brunt of that arch. Okay. And then if you'd like, you can start to take some free movement. So maybe as you're going forward and backward, you can bring a shoulder toward the hip, maybe rock backward a little bit, whatever movement feels good for you. Good. And then we'll find a neutral spine. Inhale, reach the right arm out. And exhale, slide it underneath or behind the right or the left wrist. So we're in a twist. Knees can come a little wider if you're feeling a little lopsided here. Pressing into that left hand to twist your chest toward the sidewall. Now, if you feel really stable here and your neck feels okay, you can walk your left hand forward for a side stretch as well. And then bring your hand back in front of your face. At your next inhale, press into your left hand, open up toward the right, and then plant your hand down back underneath your shoulder. Good. Other side. Inhale, open up toward the left, and exhale, twist to the right. Take a moment to set up. So even if you walked your hand forward before, make sure that you are getting that twist first and foremost, pressing into that right hand, and then maintaining the twist as you walk your hand forward. And then bring your hand back in front of your face. And the next time you inhale, opening up to the left, and plant your hand back down underneath your shoulders. Next, we're gonna start waking up the bottom half of the body. So we'll press the left foot back, toe will come down onto your mat. So you're leaning back and stretching out the back of that left leg. Maybe rocking back and forth a little bit. Next, you're gonna lift up that leg, engage that glute. Don't lift it higher than the hip. So we don't want to arch our back like this. Keep pressing back through that heel. Really nice. And then the next time you exhale, bring your knee toward your armpit, then toward your chest, and inhale your heel back. So you're making a circle throughout one round of breath. If you're going the opposite direction than me right now, that's fine. You can always switch directions later. Working with your breath. Intentional, even movements. Now switch directions. So exhaling your knee toward your chest and then inhaling out and back. Okay. Now, next time your foot is back, keep pressing it back and we'll bring our right hand forward. If it's enough to just keep your foot pressing back, you can stay there. You can even bring your toe down. Keep pressing through the heel as you extend through the fingertips. For 3, 2, and exhale, release. Good. Sit back on your heels for a second. Interlace your fingers. Shake that wrist out a little bit. Your one free break dance move of the class. Oh, I'm seeing some good break dance moves going on. Okay, let's do the other side. So make sure your shoulders are back over just behind your wrists in table pose. Knees are under your hips, and then press that right foot back now, or the opposite foot to what you had before. So toes is touching the mat at the moment, and you're just leaning backward, maybe rocking a little bit, opening up that back leg. And then when you're ready, lifting the toe up, keeping that glute working, keeping the foot below the hip. Good. And then we'll exhale the knee toward the armpit, into the chest, and pressing back. Do about 4 of these. I think that's about what we did on the other side. Taking your time, lengthening your breath as you work. Good. And then work toward the other side. So knee in toward the chest, then it comes out, and then it presses back. I'm definitely warm, if you were too. Okay. And then extend that leg out. You can either stay here or lift the left hand forward. One long line between the heel and the fingertips. Notice whether your right hip is dropping down. Good. Exhale, release. Again, we'll sit back on the heels, stretch those wrists a little bit. Okay. Back to hands and knees. We'll step both feet back into a plank pose. Hold for a breath or two. Waking everything up, pressing the floor away from you. And then slight bend in your knees. Exhale to press your hips up and back for downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Release any tension you're holding on to. Good. Inhale, lift your left leg high. Straight leg, even hips. Exhale, bend your knees. Stack your hips on top of each other as if you're trying to touch the wall on your right with your left toes. Open that hip. Inhale to straighten your leg, even your hips. Exhale, bring your knee toward your chest and plant your foot outside your left hand. So you're in a nice wide lunge. Good, you can kind of wake that hip up a little bit if you want to rock forward and backward. And then we'll plant that back knee down. Actually, sorry. No, we will stay here and we're going to work just straightening and bending a little bit. So you can take your hands either side of that foot if it feels better for you, or you can take them inside. We're going to bend the back knee, open up the chest on the inhale. On the exhale, we'll start to straighten into the front leg and the back leg any amount. This isn't going to be the fullest expression of any pose, just waking things up. Good. Now plant that back knee. Keep the right hand down, open up the chest toward the left, lift the left hand. You can also keep your hand in your hip crease to make the twist a little bit deeper through the abdomen. Feels pretty good. Gaze can even come toward the sky, or if you need a little bit more grounding, if you're feeling stressed or anxious, you can also always redirect your gaze toward the horizon or lower. And breathe. Make sure you're pressing into the inner edge of that left foot. And then inhale to plant both hands and bring your left foot back for a plank pose, or you can always do modified plank, so knees instead of feet, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Stretch. Nod your head yes, shake your head no. And at your next inhale, lift the right leg high. Straight leg, even hips. Three-legged dog. Exhale, bend your knees, stack the hips. Keep pressing through both palms equally. Inhale, straight leg, even hips. Exhale that knee in toward your chest, and we'll bring it toward your right hand. Outside or inside if that's easier, but take a nice wide stance. Good. Rocking forward and backward a little, maybe bringing the knee onto or closer to the mat. And then when you're ready, we'll start that same movement. So inhaling, open the chest, look forward. Exhale, start to straighten into both legs, little fold. Inhale forward. Exhale back. Work with your breath, maybe 2 more times. And then we'll bring the back knee down, plant that left hand, and we're twisting toward the right. And again, you can bring your hand to the inner part of that leg. Inhale, plant both hands. Bring that foot back to the back of the mat, plank pose or modified plank. Push the floor away from you, and then slight bend in the knees. Exhale, downward facing dog. Stretch your sit bones toward whatever room you're in where the ceiling and the wall meet. So back, but also up. Bending in your knees any amount that you need so that your upper half of your body is nice and long. Inhale, back to plank. Bring your knees down and then lower all the way down to the mat with control. Let's do a couple of small back bends to open up the front side of the body. So hands are underneath the shoulders, but nice and loose. Inhale, lift the chest and the head. And pick up your hands just to show yourself that you can. So it should be the upper half of your body working. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift the head and chest again. Make sure your tailbone is pointing toward your heels. Nice long spine. And exhale, lower. Let's do one more like this. Inhaling and exhaling. And then let's do a little bit of a version of what we were doing before. So bring your left hand forward and your right hand forward, sorry. So palm face down in front of you and your left hand, back of the hand face down next to your hip. Inhale, lift your front hand and the opposite leg. And then exhale, switch arms and bring everything down. Inhale, lift your front hand, opposite leg. Exhale, move everything around and bring it down. So engaging the upper back here, as well as the glute. Do one more round. Remembering to breathe. And once you finish with your right hand in front, bring both hands back underneath the chest. Inhale to the baby cobra and then press into your hands for a little bit more. We're gonna stay in this cobra for a breath or two. So squeezing the glutes, exhaling the shoulders away from the ears. Elbows are pointing behind you. And then release. Cross your wrists. Bring your chin or your forehead onto your crossed wrist. All right, bring your hands back underneath your shoulders. Find your way back to downward facing dog. And then slowly walk your toes toward the back of your wrists. You can take a breath or two to do that. And then once you're at the front of the mat, you can fold. Just let your torso hang from your hips, bending your knees generously. So the stretch is really going to be in your back rather than in your legs. So if you have tight hamstrings, it might be both. That's okay. You can hold on to opposite elbows if you'd like. Maybe give your head a little shake in any direction. Maybe shift your weight from side to side a little bit. Bring your hands to your shins or your thighs. Inhale, lift up halfway. Broaden your collarbone. Maybe look forward a little bit. And then exhale, fold. Bend your knees as much as you need to so your hands touch the mat. Press the floor away from you as you inhale all the way up. Arms come out to engage the back. Palms together overhead. Gaze at the thumbs or maybe at the ground if you're feeling a little dizzy from coming up. And then exhale, hands to your side. Take a breath here. Take a moment to check in with your alignment. So feet can be either hip width or toes together if you practice that way. I usually teach with hip width, so just assume otherwise if that's not how you practice. Hips and knees are stacked on top over the ankles. Shoulders are rolled back and down. Hands come to your sides. Bring your chin back a little bit. So not toward your chest, but back to encourage that cervical spine to have a little bit of a curve, which we naturally should have, but many of us start to lose it because we're looking on our computers and phones all the time. Okay, take a breath here. And then the next time you inhale, sweep your arms overhead, palms together. Exhale, fold, bending those knees, chin to chest. Inhale, halfway lift. You can straighten the legs a little bit, flat-ish back. Exhale, belly button comes to spine to bring you into a fold, chin to chest. Inhale, come all the way up. And then again, gaze can come wherever helps, and then exhale your hands down. So throughout all of these movements, even if I'm directing your gaze one way, you're welcome to test it out another way. So your energy is going to go with your gaze. So if your gaze is higher, it's going to help you have more energy. If you have stuff to do later, if you've been kind of lazy all day and you need a little more energy, your gaze can go up. If you're feeling, a little anxious or you just need to kind of ground, you can look at the horizon or lower. So that's totally up to you. All right, inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Relax the neck. Inhale, engage the back as you come up to stand. Palms together. Exhale your hands to your sides. Do 2 more on your own. That's half sun salutations. Remember, 1 breath, 1 movement. Try to make the breath last a little bit longer than the movement. Right. And then the next time you come to standing, we'll meet there. Close your eyes or drop your gaze. Bring your hands, 1 hand to the belly, 1 hand to the chest, and check back in. Check in with the quantity and quality of your thoughts. Check in with the breath and check in with the body. Take a wide stance on your mat so your toes are facing the long edge of the mat. If you're on a mat, if you're just on your carpet, then just step wide. A nice wide stance. So if you bring your arms out, your ankles would be underneath your wrists. Good. And then we're going to inhale, open the chest, keep the tailbone neutral. Exhale, bend into the right knee and place your left hand on top of it, twisting to open the chest. Inhale back to center, open that chest up, and then exhale, twist to your left. If you're finding this is putting any pressure on the knees, you can pick up the heels and bring them in a little bit so that your stance is a little bit more narrow and your toes are at maybe 30-degree angle. Keep working with your breaths. Good. Once you've done both sides an equal number of times, we will meet in the middle with our toes pointing forward. So if you made that modification, bring the heels back out. Bring your hands to your lower back. And actually, let's interlace our hands behind our hips. If that is a little bit too much for your shoulders, you can always hold opposite elbows or forearms. Inhale to open the chest. Exhale to fold forward, bringing those hands or the elbows away from the back any amount. Make sure the pelvis is tilting forward so you're not rounding in the back. And allow the chin to relax toward the chest. Miliana and Alexander, I can't see you, but I'm probably talking to you. Good. And then release your hands onto your lower back and just run your hands along the back of your legs and then back up and give yourself kind of a little massage, maybe a warming feeling on the back of those legs. When you're ready, inhale up halfway, engage the back. Take a moment here, and then the next inhale, come the rest of the way up. You can keep your gaze down if you got a little dizzy coming up there. All right, inhale to bring, you don't need to inhale, it doesn't matter actually. Bring your your right toes toward the front of the mat. So lift those toes, point them to the short edge, lift the back of the left toes or the left heel, oh my gosh, you guys. The left heel and bring it toward the back edge of the mat. So your front foot is completely pointing toward the front edge of the mat and the back foot is at a 45-degree angle. Turn your chest toward the long edge of the mat. Bend into your right knee. Look down, make sure that you can see your big toe and the one next to it. And then you can bring your arms out to a T. Gaze comes over those right fingertips. If this is a lot for you and you want a little bit more of a gentle practice, you can bring your back knee down. You'll want your foot kind of at an angle, so like a 45-degree angle. You'll still get that opening in the hips, which is really what we're doing this for. Good. Keep the bend in the front knee. Exhale, reverse your warrior. And then inhale, come back into warrior two. Straighten the front knee, and we'll just move to the other side. So keeping it pretty gentle today. So we'll take your right foot and bring that to a 45-degree angle. Left toes come out. Chest squares off to the long edge of the mat. Arms come out to a T, bringing that, actually, sorry, the knee should come forward first and then the arms come out to a T. Gaze going over those left fingertips now. And then again, if you took the modification, it looks like this. Breathing. All right, keep the bend in the front knee, reverse your warrior. So right hand comes to the back leg, stretching in the front of that hip, opening the chest toward the sky. Inhale back to warrior two, and then we'll just come back up to a wide-legged stance, all toes facing forward. Hands can just come to hips or lower back. Inhale, open the chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. This time your hands can just fall in front of you. Okay. Inhale, halfway up, engage the back, bring your hands back to the hips. Exhale here, and inhale, come to stand. We'll bring the feet about halfway wider than they were before. So still a pretty wide stance. So if you want to face the front of the mat, you can. Your toes would probably be off the mat. Now, if you have a block or two, this is a good time to use it. If not, you can sort of use a pillow or two stacked on top of each other. We're going to come into a wide squat. So allow your tailbone to be heavy. And ideally, unless this is super comfortable for you, your hips are on some kind of prop of some sort. Even if you're in your living room and you just want to sort of be on the edge of your couch, that's fine. So you have nice wide knees. Knees are tracking in the same direction as your toes. Palms together. Elbows pressing your knees wide. Chest is opening as much as it can. If you don't have something to sit on, also, you can always just take this on your back by just sort of laying on your back and squeezing your knees towards your armpits. If you feel pretty comfortable here and you'd like to try this, you can bring your left hand down to the mat or to the top of your foot and open up the right arm, twisting toward the right. Breathe. Inhale to come back to center, planting your left hand, opening to the left, or you're planting your right hand, opening to the left. And release both hands down. Bring your toes to face forward. And then press into your heels to come into a forward fold. Shake your head no, nod your head yes. Whatever prop you use, go ahead and move that out of the way. And then we'll bring our toes together this time. Little, maybe an inch gap in the hips. Bring the knees wide. Another wide squat, but slightly different shape. And now instead of opening our chest, we're gonna walk our hands forward, stretching that upper back. Allow your heels to be heavy, so they don't have to touch the mat, but they will help you bring your weight back a little bit. And then just allow your hips to come down to the mat. This is not part of it, but maybe stretch a leg out because that seems like it was going to feel good to me. And then the other way. Lots of closed off hips. Actually, why don't we do this? Bend your knees, place your feet about hip width, bring your hands behind you, maybe 6 to 8 inches. They can either point towards your hips or they can come out kind of out to the sides. I prefer to the sides. I think it feels better for my wrists. And then just press into your feet to lift the hips for a reverse table. Feels good. You can even allow your head to come back. Squeeze the glutes toward the sky and release everything down. Good. And just come straight onto our backs. Nice long spine. Bend your knees. Squeeze your knees in toward the chest for a moment or two. Okay. Place the feet back on the mat. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. You can stay here and just press that knee away from you. If you want a little bit more, you can bring your hand behind your right, the back of your leg or around your shin. If you feel like this is pretty open to you, I'm going to offer a slightly different option. Whether you do this option or any of the other options that I suggested, make sure that you're keeping your left foot flexed to protect that knee. So if this is pretty available to you, you can bring your knee into the crook of your arm, so your left knee into the crook of your left arm, and then your foot into the crook of your right arm. So if you can see, I'm kind of holding it like a baby. And then from there, you can start to straighten that bottom leg. For me, that's a lot, so I would just keep it slightly bent. Let's start to walk it forward. It just gives you a little bit of stretch in that front hip as well. Maybe even slowly shifting the weight of that leg one side or the other. And breathe. Try to release tension in both hips, even 10%. And slowly release whichever variation you have, being gentle with that knee and the hips. Bring both feet back to the mat, even out your hips, and then work on the other side. So start off with crossing your ankle over your knee, even if you took the last variation, pressing your knee away from you. And then bringing your knee in, just allowing your hip to open up a little bit before you take that harder variation. And if this side feels available to you, it might be different. You can take whichever variation you did on the left side. Make sure you're flexing that right foot. And again, if you started shifting your weight a little bit one side or the other, remember to do that on this side. And then gently, slowly release whichever variation you're in. Maybe take a little stretch. Morning stretch, just nice and long. Pressing your heels and hands away from each other. Okay, I'm gonna take a twist. You might want to grab either like a folded blanket or a pillow. Have that ready. We're gonna start on our left side with our knees in toward our chest and our hands out in front of us. So bring your knees fairly close to your chest. I mean, they don't have to come all the way in, but more than a 90-degree angle if you can. Keep them there and just open that right hand out. So you're opening up your chest like a book. And then once you're kind of at a point where your knees feel like they want to come away from each other, you can stop there. So you want your knees to stay stacked. And then wherever you can relax that right shoulder down, if there's a gap between that shoulder and your mat, you can bring that pillow or blanket underneath it. So arms are opened up, palms face up. If you'd like, you can take your gaze over that right shoulder. Inhale to unwind. Everything stacking on top of each other. And then we'll turn toward the other side. So make sure you're stacking those knees and that they're a little closer to your chest than your hips. Have that prop ready on your left side this time. Stacking your shoulders, palms out in front of you, and then you're ready, opening. At the next inhale, unwind. And take that top hand, press yourself up to a seat. I'm going to show you our next pose. That was the start of sort of our more restorative part of the class. So by the way, the class does end at 6:15. If you didn't realize that it was 75 minutes and you need to leave earlier, just make sure that you take a couple minutes in Shavasana before you go, because that's really important way to end your practice. Okay, so take your pillow or a folded up blanket and place it at the top of your mat. If you have blocks, you can always do what many of you have done with me before, which is to place one at your head and one where your thoracic spine, so where your rib cage is, that part of your spine will be on the second height. I don't recommend using on any height other than the second height, and the medium height, I guess. So you can either have this, or you can have a pillow or a folded blanket, and you'll just place your upper half of your back and your head along it. So this is what it looks like on the blocks. If you want to take it with the pillow, it'll just look like this. It's a little more gentle. And if you're taking it with the pillow, it actually, you might find it comfortable to also let your head hang off it because it's a little bit lower. So it's up to you what feels good. We'll be here for a few minutes, so make sure that you're really comfortable. Get set up. Your legs will just be extended forward. Those of you who sometimes, yeah, I see Millian. Those of you who we sometimes do the Supta Baddha Konasana with this, we're actually going to do that after. So just let your legs come out and focus on that chest opener. Slow down your breathing a little bit. Just start to allow the parts of your body that might still be holding onto tension, start to allow them to release. Because I think keeping some of our same routines are really helpful right now, I'm going to continue with our tradition of me reading while we are in the restorative poses. So the first one I'm going to read is called Let Go of the Rice. This is from the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. This one's called Let Go of the Rice. In a world that lives like a fist, mercy is no more than waking with your hands open. So much more can happen with our hands open. In fact, closing and stubbornly maintaining our grip is often what keeps us stuck, though we want to blame it on everything and everyone else, especially what we're holding on to. There's an ancient story from China that makes all this very clear. It stems from the way traps were set for monkeys. A coconut was hollowed out through an opening that was cut to the size of a monkey's open hand. Rice was then placed in the carved out fruit, which was left in the path of the monkeys. Sooner or later, a hungry monkey would smell the rice and reach its hand in. But once fisting the rice, its hand could no longer fit back out through the opening. The monkeys that were caught were those who would not let go of the rice. As long as the monkey maintained its grip on the rice, it was a prisoner of its own making. The trap worked because the monkey's hunger was the master of its reach. The lesson for us is profound. We need to always ask ourselves, what is our rice and what is keeping us from opening our grip and letting it go? It was upon hearing this story that I finally understood the tense ritual of rejection that exists between my mother and me. Like any child, I've always wanted her love and approval, but suddenly I realized that this has been my rice. The more it has not come, the tighter my grip. My hunger for her love has been master of my reach, even in other relationships. I have been a caught monkey, unwilling to let go. I have since unfolded the grip in my heart, and humbly, I can see now that the real challenge of surrender for all of us is not just letting go, but letting go of something we yearn for. The truth is that food is everywhere. Though the stubborn monkey believes in its moment of hunger that there is no other food, it only has to let go for its life to unfold. Our journey to love is no different. For though we stubbornly cling, believing in our moment of hunger that there is no other possibility of love, we only have to let go of what we want so badly and our life will unfold. For love is everywhere. Sit quietly, or in your case, lay quietly, and meditate on what is the rice in your fist. Breathe deeply and try to see what is keeping you from letting go. Practice opening the fist of your heart by actually making a fist while inhaling, and then open it as you exhale. And when you're ready, bend your knees, place your feet flat on the mat. And you can either roll off to one side, take a breath there, or if it feels more comfortable to just press up off of your prop, you can do that. Okay, our last pose before a quick Shavasana is going to be Supta Baddha Konasana, which is bound angle pose on your back, basically. So we're gonna do this. If you want to stay on top of those pillows because it just felt really good to open your chest up, you can keep them there. But I for those of you who haven't taken my class before, I often do these together, but I think today it's kind of nice to separate that chest opener from the hip opener. So we'll just lay on our backs with our feet coming toward each other. But if you have a blanket handy, I'm gonna offer a kind of a fun option. We don't have blankets in our class usually. So take the blanket so it's kind of fairly wide. So this is folded in half, and then roll it. So it's like a, I don't know, worm. Place the middle of it over your feet, which should be soles of the feet coming together. And they can be like fairly close to your hips. They don't have to be, crazy too close, but close-ish. Then take the outer edges of that rolled blanket, place it under your hips, and then you can lay back. If you don't have the blanket, unless you have really open hips, you might still want to put like 2 pillows or 2 blocks or anything underneath those outer thighs so that you can relax your hips. Because you want your hip flexors to not feel like they're pulling your knees back toward each other. You want it to be really relaxed. And you're just bringing your arms out to like a 45-degree angle, chilling out here. Find a spot on the ceiling to gaze at or close your eyes. I'll read one more thing from the same book. This one's called We Tend to Cling. So continuing on that same theme. I envy the tree, how it reaches but never holds. Things that matter come and go, but being touched and feeling life move on, we tend to cling and hold on, not wanting anything to change. Of course, this fails and things do change. Often we are stubborn enough to go after what we think is leaving, trying to manipulate and control the flow of life. Of course, this fails too. We can't stop life from flowing. So we are left with feeling what was and what is, and we call the difference loss. But all the clinging and holding on only makes it worse. Now, new things come, and some of us anticipate the loss and just let the things of life go by without feeling them at all. I have done all these things, but when clear enough and open enough, I try to let things in, to let things touch me. I try not to poke and pull at them as they move through. It doesn't eliminate loss, but when trusting enough to let this happen, I am tuned like a harp held up to wind. Sit quietly and bring to mind a feeling you've tried to hold on to. Breathe evenly and bring to mind a feeling you've cut off. Breathe slowly and bring to mind something you are feeling deeply right now, and try to allow it in without interfering with its presence. If you're comfortable here, go ahead and stay here. If you'd like to release this and take a traditional corpse pose, Shavasana, for a final resting pose, you can just shift props out of the way and extend your legs, keeping your feet a little bit wide, so maybe they're as wide as the mat. Arms out to your sides. Release tension in your toes and your feet and your ankles. Release your calves, your kneecaps, your thighs, your hamstrings. Release your belly and allow your breath to rise and fall naturally. Relax the chest. Relax the hips and the glutes, the lower back, middle back, and upper back. Relax the fingers and wrists, the forearms, the upper arms. Release any tension in the shoulders and the neck. Allow your brain to be cradled by your skull and your skull to be cradled by the earth. Relax your forehead, the muscles behind your eyes. Allow your lower jaw to separate from your upper jaw and your tongue to come away from the roof of your mouth. Just take these next couple of minutes to allow body and mind to integrate. If you find that you're getting distracted, just come back to the rise and falls of your inhales and exhales, remembering that it's not about how many times you get distracted, but how many times you come back to your breath. Start to deepen your inhales and lengthen your exhales. Bring movement to fingers one at a time, toes, wrists, ankles. Maybe reach up and take a nice long stretch. And bring your knees in towards your chest. Roll off to one side and take a breath or two here to enjoy the peace you created with your practice. When you're ready, press yourself up to a seat. Any seat will do. We'll just be here for a second. Bring your hands to heart center, bow into yourself, and call to mind your sankalpa, your intention that you set at the beginning of class today. Decide whether you want to take it with you as you continue the rest of your evening. I will close off class the way I started it by chanting the sound of Om one time. Feel free to listen along or join if you'd like. Thank yourself for being here. I thank all of you for being here. Namaste.